Good afternoon folks, I'm Toad from Visordown and welcome to Valencia, where I'm here for the launch of the 2022 Yamaha TMAX Tech Max, which is brand new for this year and we've spent all day riding it. It's been a really good day, fantastic weather. It does help that the weather in the UK is pretty rubbish right now. But the main thing is I'm going to take you through the 10 things that I have learned about this brand new model for this year. So the first thing is the dash. It is a TFT Dash on this bike, which is absolutely massive. And it's not crammed with loads of information, it's really nicely spaced out. They haven't gone to town with all the graphics and everything else. There's a couple of themes that you can flick through, but generally it's just very clear, very well laid out, and the menu buttons and everything are really, really intuitive to use, which is not something that you can say about many other TFT Dashes. I would actually say that this dash is class leading, and I'm not just talking about in the scooter or the maxi scooter sector, I'm just talking about motorcycles in general. There are a lot of bikes on the market at the minute in the UK that have got dashes that are far inferior to the one that's on this bike. It is really, really very, very good. You've got Bluetooth connectivity, and there is even a cubby hole to put your phone in, which locks it in there, and there's a USB port in there. So on the tech front, this thing is absolutely covered for turn-by-turn navigation, answering and receiving calls, thank you, playing music, checking messages, all of that stuff is covered. The next thing that I want to talk about is the screen. So it's a tale of two halves with the screen. It does work well. I mean, when it's on its highest setting, I'm cocooned in this nice little bubble of air. If you're a bit taller than me, top of your head might be popping out of it, but it actually does a really, really good job. It is fully adjustable, so it's electronically adjustable as well, so you can put it exactly where you need to be. The only problem that I have with the screen, and this is only a little bit of a gripe, is that you have to go through a set of menus to get to the screen adjustment on the little joystick switch cube on the handlebar here. It would be nicer if there was just a rocker switch or an up and down switch on the front of each handlebars, because then you wouldn't have to take your eyes off the road to adjust the screen. But other than that, works really, really well. It was a feature on the TMAX Tech Max of old, and it is, as this is the only bike that you can buy in the UK. If you want a Tech Max from 2022 onwards, a TMAX, sorry, from 2022 onwards, it will only be a Tech Max edition. The screen is always there, and it does work wonders. The next thing that I want to talk about is the suspension, because I've ridden some of these kind of big scooter motorcycle hybrid bikes before, and the suspension has got a lot to do. It's got to be comfortable, it's got to be plush and compliant, but it's also got to handle the weight of the machine. This is 220 odd kilograms getting on for, and the suspension has been reworked for this year, so the damping rates have been increased slightly. And the feeling that you get with the bike is that you can really, really rely on the suspension. You can drive the bike into the suspension when you're cornering. We're riding up a lot of mountain roads today, and it was switchback after switchback after switchback, and you were really working the suspension quite hard. And it just seemed like that perfect balance for a bike of this type. It was quite impressive. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the brakes. If I'm being completely honest, the brakes, there's not a lot of initial bite. I like a bit of initial bite because it just reminds you that the bike is doing something, that it's happening. It's a little bit vague when it comes in. There is quite a bit of power there. It's 220 kilograms to stop. You've only got small brake disc, you've only got small wheels, so you can overpower the ABS quite easily and get that cutting in. But normally I do like to just ride around with one finger on the brake and just have that for 90% of the braking. But on this bike, you will need two fingers on the brake lever to get most of the braking work done that you're going to be doing. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the engine. So it is the same 562cc parallel twin cylinder with a 360-degree crank and no funky firing order or anything else going on here. It's putting out about 47 brake horsepower, and the problem with it in this format is that CVT always, in any bike, it does its best to take all of the fun out of acceleration events. And it's kind of the same with this one. It's just a bit of a dirge as you get up to speed. It is a scooter at the end of the day. It's kind of what they're about and what they do. But when you get going, and I'll come on to this in a minute, the chassis and the handling characteristics of the bike more than make up for that slightly, I don't know, boring way that the thing gets up to 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the price. So the first thing, the thing about the price that I've learned on this launch is that it is quite a lot of money. It's £12,500. It comes out at about 136 quid on a PCP. That's if you put down 3,334 quid, and that's over 36 months. So if you're doing it like that, it's quite cheap motoring. But yeah, if you're buying it outright, it's a hell of a lot of money. But I don't think Yamaha are really too worried about that. The fan base and the customer base that they've already got for these bikes is so loyal. They've sold over 300,000 of them globally since it was launched back in the mid-2000s. So it's not like they're particularly worried about the price. If you're a TMAX fan and you already own one, you will know what I'm talking about. You will love the bike, and TMAX owners are very, very passionate about their bikes. So I don't think there's going to be a massive problem with the price. And if you're looking at it and thinking, well, that's too much, I'm not going to buy that, obviously this isn't the bike for you. I just want to show you around the storage capability of this here motorcycle. First and foremost, keyless system on the bike, so smart key, which is in my jacket pocket. Beep beep, there we go. And that opens to reveal your under-seat storage space. Now, I can't find any information as to how many litres it actually is. I've got a little handy little light there, which is quite cool. Some of the bits and bobs, but this is big enough for one full face helmet. My AGV Pista GP does fit in there quite snugly, and there's a bit of room around the back. There are some scoots in this class and some scoots that are a little bit smaller in capacity where you can get two full-size helmets underneath the seat. But that's not the case with this bike. There is the option to fit a top box. So if you had the top box, you got space for another helmet in there. And there is also a top box which is shared across this and Tracer 9 GT and a few of the Yamaha models that you can actually squeeze two full-size crash helmets in. So yeah, you can't get two under the seat, but you can. There are options there to solve that problem. I'm going to come around this way actually, because there's something else I want to show you as well, which is the cubby hole down here. So this is where you can put your phone, plug it into the USB port up here, and what is quite cool is your phone sits in its own dedicated little cassette like that. So it's kind of elastic banded in there to stop it flapping around, which is quite cool. Means it's always on charge and it's always within range. So once you've then got that hooked up to the bike's dash, you can then use all of the smartphone connectivity, take calls, play music, and more importantly for me, because I don't really take calls or play music on these things, use the sat nav. I also learned something else on the launch of this one, and that is that there is no stock TMAX coming to the UK, so you will only be able to buy this bike here. You might be asking why that is, and can you not get a cheaper one without the adjustable screen and without the TFT? No, you can't, and here's why. When we looked at the sales data for the TMAX and the Tech Max next to each other, it was 70% of people were just going for the Tech Max edition. In the UK, the market is admittedly quite small, so what's the point in building all those bikes and then shipping all those bikes and then PDIing all those bikes at a dealer when ultimately they're going to be harder to sell than the one that's got more toys on it. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the comfort, and I have learned on this launch that the comfort of this thing is absolutely phenomenal. That seat is, sorry to say another brand's name in a press video, but that seat is Goldwing specification. It is super plush, super comfy. This bolster here is adjustable, so you can move it forwards or back. I'm a short ass, so I moved it all the way forwards. But yeah, it is so comfortable and such a lovely place to be. I also had a jump on the pillion seat of the bike while someone else was on it. And the pillion seat, again, is absolutely massive. You can sit with a good 4 or 5 inch gap between you and the person riding the bike, and you're still not even really at the back of the seat. You've got the massive grab handles there, the foot pegs are nicely positioned. All in all, that's a very nice place to be. One slight bone of contention for me, I am a short ass. I'm 5'7", and as it is, the engine is kind of all down here. The bike is quite wide in that midsection, so it meant when I was stopping at lights, I was having to sort of scoot myself forward just to make sure that I got both feet on the ground. It wasn't a problem, I've not dropped it, but it's just one of those things to think about if you are a bit of a short ass. The final thing that I want to talk about with this bike is the handling, and it was the one thing that surprised me out of everything else that I've mentioned the most. We've been riding these things today probably as hard as I would want to ride up the roads that we were riding on. And the chassis and the way that this thing turns is very, very surprising, especially for a bike that's 220 kgs in weight. All of that weight it's all held very low down in the bike. And the best thing about it, and this is something that I've not really experienced on many other motorcycles of any caliber or any other maxi scooters, is the way that you can adjust what's going on in the corner, mid-corner, and it just seems totally unflappable. It doesn't seem like there's anything that you can really do to it in a corner, be it just dabbing the front brake, just, you know, if there's an obstacle or you've noticed something in the middle of the road, or a bit of back brake just to try and tighten the corner. There really isn't anything that you can do to upset the balance of what is a very well sorted machine. So there we are, that's 10 things that I have learned about the Yamaha TMAX Tech Max. If you are a fan of the Yamaha TMAX, do let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it, and please hit subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all of Visordown's latest videos. And for all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, please head on over to visordown.com. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.